Throughout history, there have been women whose lives remain shrouded in mystery, whose stories defy logic and haunt the pages of time. Tonight, we delve into the lives of 5 such women, whose mysteries still linger in the shadows of history. Welcome to the 5 most mysterious women in history. Elizabeth Bathory, the Blood Countess. In the heart of 17th century Hungary, amidst the walls of a castle that seemed untouched by time, there lived a woman whose name would become synonymous with unspeakable evil. Elizabeth Bathory, the Blood Countess. Born into nobility, Elizabeth was once a beautiful young woman, admired by many. But beneath her stunning exterior, a dark hunger began to grow, a hunger that no one, not even she, could fully understand. Legend has it that Elizabeth began to believe the secret to eternal youth lay in the blood of young women. The power of youth, of beauty, it all resided in their veins. She believed, in her delusional mind, that by bathing in the blood of virgins, she could restore her own fading beauty, her own life. But no matter how many lives she took, no matter how much blood she consumed, she grew older, while her soul grew darker, as rumors began to spread, whispers of torture, mutilation, and unspeakable horrors. The people of Hungary feared what lay behind the closed doors of Szeged Castle. Some claimed the blood would never wash away from the stones. Some said the souls of the young girls still roamed the halls, seeking revenge. But no amount of blood could protect Elizabeth from the inevitable. The Countess's reign of terror was finally brought to an end. In 1611, after years of brutal killings, she was arrested, her crimes uncovered. Elizabeth was sentenced to life imprisonment, but some say her spirit still haunts the land. Some say her bloodlust has never been satisfied. Her name is forever etched in history as one of the most notorious female serial killers in the world. But there are those who believe Elizabeth Bathory never truly died, that her thirst for blood still lingers in the shadows. And in the dead of night, she walks once more, seeking the one thing she could never truly have, eternal youth. Remember her name, for in the darkness, she still waits. And once you've heard her story, you may never sleep again. The Fox sisters, the spirits of Hydesville. In the winter of 1848, in the quiet town of Hydesville, New York, 2 young sisters, Maggie and Kate Fox, would unknowingly begin a chain of events that would change the course of history. Little did they know, the spirits they awakened would never leave. 2 young girls, Maggie, age 14, and Kate, age 11, sit on a rickety bed, their faces pale, eyes wide with fear. The air is thick with tension. I swear, Kate, it's coming from the walls. Sounds like knocking, like someone's trying to talk to us. But who's there? I don't know, but I think we have to answer it. Let's ask it questions. Maggie clutches her hands together in nervous anticipation, and the air grows cold. The knocking sound begins again, louder this time, echoing from the walls of the room. Is someone here? Answer us. Knock 3 times if you hear us. There is a brief silence. Then, in rapid succession, 3 loud knocks echo through the room. It's real. Maggie, it's real. What does it mean? It means we're not alone. And I think we've just made contact. Who are you? What do you want? Suddenly, the knocks change, spelling out words. Each knock seems deliberate, almost mocking the sisters' fears. It's spelling something, Kate. It's saying, I'm dead. What is this? Who are you? The knocking continues, the messages becoming more coherent. I am Charles Rosna. I was murdered. Help me. Set me free. The entity communicating with the Fox sisters was no spirit of peace, but the restless ghost of a murdered man, whose death had been covered up. Charles Rosna had met his untimely end in that very house, and his spirit, in torment, had found its way to the Fox sisters. We have to do something. It's not just Charles. There's something else. Something darker. I can't handle this anymore. Make it stop. Kate screamed. The knocking grows louder, turning into a thudding noise as the room shakes violently. The lights flicker, casting eerie shadows. Over the following days, the sisters attempt to communicate with the spirit, But the answers become darker and more twisted. The knocking escalates, now accompanied by cold whispers in the air. Objects begin moving on their own, and strange, shadowy figures appear in the corners of their vision. What began as an innocent game would soon spiral into a nightmare. The spirits they summoned were not mere whispers, but angry, vengeful entities. Ghosts who wanted something far more sinister than attention. They wanted control. The sisters, years later, their lives ruined by the horrors they had unleashed, told their story. We thought we could control it. We thought we could help them. But what we awakened was more than we could ever imagine. The spirits of Hydesville still haunt us to this day. And now they are watching you. The Fox sisters were the first to communicate with the dead, but they were not the last. The spirits of Hydesville still linger, waiting for the next souls foolish enough to listen. Mary Shelley, the creator of Frankenstein. Mary Shelley, a woman whose mind was tormented by loss, despair, and her own dark ambitions. What began as a summer dream with friends by the fire became a nightmare that would never end. It was in this cemetery, amidst the echoes of the past, that Mary's obsession with life and death first took root. Her grief, from the loss of her own children, her mother, and the ever-present shadow of Percy's philandering, pushed her toward the unthinkable. I shall create a life from the very depths of death. I will show them all. They will see what I can do. The more Mary wrote, the more the line between reality and fantasy blurred. Her mind became her prison, haunted by whispers, dreams, and the figures she created. Her creation, Frankenstein's monster, had come to life, not on the page, but in her mind. It was no longer just a story. It was a nightmare that would follow her into every waking moment. She had given life to something that should never have existed. But Mary Shelley could not stop what she had begun. The line between creator and creation had been erased. She was no longer the writer. She was the subject of the horror she had unleashed. In the end, the true horror was not in what Mary Shelley wrote, but in what she had become, the silent women of Roanoke. In the year 1587, a group of English settlers arrived on the shores of what is now known as Roanoke Island, in the heart of the New World. Among them were men, women, and children hoping to start fresh to build a new life. But when a supply ship arrived 3 years later, they found the settlement abandoned, and the only clue left behind was a single word, carved into a tree: Croton. But what if the true story isn't the one they told? What if the women of Roanoke were the key to understanding their disappearance? And what if they never left at all? Among these settlers were the women of Roanoke, a group of silent, stoic figures. Unlike their counterparts, these women were never seen speaking. They had no voices, at least not in the way we understand. Their silence, some whispered, was not of choice, but of something darker. On the night the settlers vanished, it wasn't an attack. It wasn't the work of hostile natives. The women had been waiting for the time when the silence would finally consume the colony, and the voices of the men would vanish forever. Some say they made a pact with an ancient force, a force that spoke to them in dreams. Others claim it was the spirits of the land itself, demanding retribution for the settlers' intrusion. But one thing was clear: the women of Roanoke were no ordinary settlers. They were the harbingers of something far darker. For years, historians have struggled to explain the disappearance of the Roanoke colony. But what if the women were not lost? What if they never left? What if, in their silence, they found something far more powerful than we could ever understand? The women of Roanoke still walk the earth, silent and watching, waiting for those who dare to uncover their secrets. And if you listen closely, you can still hear them in the wind, in the trees, in the whispers of the forgotten. They are always watching, and they never speak, because they no longer need to. La Llorona, or the Weeping Woman, is a tragic yet terrifying figure from Mexican folklore. The story tells of Maria, a woman who drowned her own children in a fit of rage or despair, only to realize her mistake too late. Now, cursed to wander rivers and lakes for eternity, she searches for her children's souls. But beware, her cries of "Ay, mis hijos," "Oh, my children," are a death sentence for anyone who hears them. Witnesses claim that seeing her ghostly form is an omen of personal tragedy.